ALTBAYS. ALTBAYS.
ALTBAYS. Jude's like, what the fuck is going on?
Sure,
I genuinely was like, Taylor's gonna be angry.
Oh, finally, we're live. ALTBAYS Show brought to you by ALTBAYS.nz. My friend said, I like your show because like there's no internal jokes, and I just threw an internal joke in the first second of the show. Thank you very much. It's lovely to see you all. We're live every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 7 p.m. bringing crazy people, normal people. What is normal? What is crazy? I don't know. You tell me. If you're still watching us, you're certainly not normal. So you're winning in life. Good on you. We have kids here. Hi, Hector.
Hey.
Yeah! Is kids offensive? Do you prefer being called by something else?
Oh man.
A man? We have a few men in the room tonight. We have a beautiful woman on my left, Chloe Potae.
Hello. Hi.
Happy Matariki.
Yes.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm excited.
Lamb of God. What?
Lamb of God.
Lamb of God.
I really didn't think it would be that much of a statement piece, really. It was just clean.
So maybe
myself. So thanks for that, Leo.
So maybe it's not even yours.
Oh, it definitely is. It was actually a gift from my brother. So yeah,
Is it?
yeah. He's quite into like heavy metal kind of screamo sort of.
Who is not,
rock.
eh?
Well,
A few people are not, eh?
yeah, I don't think so.
Are you? Or you
it's
just...
not something I particularly listen to, but I'm sure there's a few songs, maybe not so hardcore.
But you like a screamo, eh?
Maybe not screamo, but like a little bit of Slipknot, maybe a little bit, just a little bit of that. I don't know. Yeah, not really.
And you gotta love Corey Taylor, eh? That guy?
Yeah,
The
totally.
lead singer from Slipknot?
Yeah, totally.
No?
I have no idea. I have no idea. I literally just know a few songs.
Great singer.
Right.
Good looking man. Very smart.
Doesn't he wear a mask?
And when he took it off, people
yeah.
realized that he was actually a super cool, interesting man, very great singer.
Wow.
So you have a look. Yeah, I think you like him.
Okay, I'll look
Might be
into
your
that.
style.
Cool. So Slipknot shirt next episode. Right.
Cool. Going from heavy metal, from crazy clowns to Jude Calder.
Hey,
How are you, man?
good man. How are you?
Good. Are you into heavy metal?
No.
Not your thing.
No.
Was never your thing? Like when you were younger?
No,
and-
not so much. I missed the Metallica bus, you know, like I was into, I don't know, more grunge, I suppose, and then,
Hey.
and then, yeah, Jane's Addiction and all that sort of stuff, and Pixies.
God bless you.
Yeah. But I missed the death metal band.
You got some cool,
Fan.
you got to see some cool gigs in New Zealand. Was that a thing for you when you were, because I know you love it, you love music, you're always out there.
Dude. Yeah, yeah, for sure. I had a car and my license pretty early, so, you know, as soon as that freedom happened, it was wicked. You know, I think maybe one of the first bands I remember, the Chili's, going up to see the Chili Peppers at about 16 or so.
Yes.
As soon as you got the
Yeah, that's
license.
awesome.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it was out.
Speaking of license,
Awesome.
you guys learned very early how to drive in your family. I love that. Anyway, we're gonna go back to that.
Yes.
So, Jane's, did you get to see Jane's Addiction as well? Is that-
No, not till way later. Actually, I saw them as Porno for Pyros at one of the big day outs.
Oh,
Yeah, Perry
Great.
Farrell was amazing. He's a classic. I think he was drinking like a bottle of wine through the whole gig, and
yes.
yeah, he's really cool.
Just a personality, just like
Man, what
you-
a performer.
Yes.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
artists, you know, I really like those musicians that take that very seriously, you know, because it's an artist, you know, it's a character, you're representing something. People say, oh, be authentic. Obviously, but put up a show.
Yeah.
You know, like, and then some main guys, they actually become the show.
The
eh?
show, totally,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, you know, yeah, Chloe's like, whoa.
Okay, cool.
Okay. Let me think about who is the star of the moment? Who is the trending? Oh, Post Malone. Do you know Post Malone? Do you like
Post
him?
Malone. I like looking at him. But yeah, that's about it. I don't know. He has some catchy songs, but I like looking at him. He looks real goofy. He reminds me of Goofy.
Do you know who he is?
I have no idea, man.
He's just some white guy rapper
Yeah,
with like
right.
tattoos on his face and shit.
Just some white guy rapper. That's what you
but
said. That's what
it's
you
like-
said. It's great.
It's hard to
People should-
differentiate these days. You're just like, oh, he's just some white guy rapper.
It's a thing, eh? Now to tattoo the face. A lot of these rappers, like, because I'm the same, like, I try to keep up with the vibe of the young people. It doesn't necessarily mean that I have to listen to the music that they're listening to.
Sure.
Because sometimes it's not that appealing for me.
Yeah.
But I check, because some of them are very good musicians, you know? And I just haven't got that far to know how good or not he is. But he seems to be a very nice guy, right?
Yeah,
Like,
and he actually is, like, I think he has some roots in, like, rock and country. Like, he
because
can
he
play
played
the
with
guitar.
the Chili's. It's a
Oh,
very
really?
got famous, like a viral, a great clip of them playing at a prize, whatever.
Yeah, right.
And he rocked it. Like, he's good, you know.
Yeah.
But the stuff that he does is a bit different, right? It's a bit
Yeah,
of a
well,
trap
sort of thing.
hip-hop.
But he has, like, he can sing. He's got, like, roots in country and a bit of rock. Like, he played with Ozzy Osbourne as well. He has a song with Ozzy Osbourne and
There you go.
whatever.
Wow.
But tattoo
Tattoos
got
on
his face
and,
tattooed.
like,
No,
grills and stuff. He's real. Yeah, gang.
He's got some street cred.
Yeah, yeah.
Would you put some grills, man? Would you put some? What color would you? That is a better question.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't. I think my dad's got a gold tooth. You know, he's got half a gold tooth, and
Yes.
I think his thing though was if he ever got stuck financially, he'd just knock it out and,
That's
and pay
right.
for something. You know, so yeah, that makes sense. I guess.
I was about to say that like so many stories. Well, in Brazil, but I guess I don't know in many other countries in the world of like people robbing, stealing graves and shit to see if they had
no
gold
kidding.
tooth and that
gold
stuff.
fillings.
Or whatever.
Yeah.
Something might be precious there. You never know what they put in the pockets. Hey.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. That's gnarly.
So
Sorry, that's gnarly, bro. Like,
Great, Robin.
I'm
Yeah.
glad you guys
Hello.
stuck with us from all this beautiful start. If you, I just thought about saying something that I didn't say at the beginning, Jude. I'm sorry. If
Sweet
you
as.
want to run your own show, if you want to do this and make money and become a millionaire like Hector is, he's on his path. You might laugh now, but in a couple of years, you might laugh even more. Or you might be like, what the fuck, they were right. Look at him, he's a millionaire now. So if you want to try that Russian roulette with, give it a go, ALTBAYS.nz, we'll do that. We'll run a show for you. Chloe's show, what would be Chloe's show?
campaigning for things I think Whitianga needs. First of all, Whitianga needs a bowling alley. Do you think Whitianga needs a bowling alley, dude?
Now, I had a yarn with someone the other day, and they were
Ooh,
talking
good idea.
about
Conversation
the
that's
bowling
picking up.
alley.
It's
Yeah.
picking up.
Yeah,
Really,
yeah.
are you serious?
Yeah, serious. I'm trying to remember who that was. But I was like, oh, yeah, you was kept banging on about the bowling alley.
Yeah, it's me.
Are you wearing hats and being misleading people, pretending you're someone else just to spread a
Oh, was
rumor?
it a rumor? Oh,
Rumor,
me talking
rumor.
to Jude. No, I actually literally had the same thing. I had people being like, I had a really close friend of mine, and it's actually, I won't say too much, but he genuinely was like, I saw that video about you going on about the bowling alley. I was like, yeah, it's cool, right? It's kind of funny. It's a bit of a gimmick, but I'm like serious. Like, and then he's like, that was my idea. I was like, since when? He's like, I told you. And I was like, no, you didn't. I was like, it's mine now. Like,
Well, but now it's when collaboration arises, you know? Like, it's a good moment not to fight because it's a universal idea. A lot of people love
you
bowling.
could fight at the bowling alley, man. Just like,
What would make a bowl? Because that's what we try to think about, like not just the thing, you know. You need like a
Yeah.
complex, man.
Yeah.
You need like a
Yeah.
thing. So Jude, come on, give us a hand there. How we would
What
make
else?
it to start? Because you're pro with landscaping, and that's the thing that you do. So like, what would actually make it awesome right from the start? You come into the bowling alley and you're like, woo! Because we got together all the professionals, right, Chloe?
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
supporting
we're
your
getting a
idea
team,
now.
yeah.
Now that I got the plan.
the
So,
campaigning.
so maybe we can integrate it with like a roller derby around the outside, perhaps.
Dude, yes, we
Maybe
are
a,
on.
you know, a stage in the middle or something, and yeah, I don't know. Let's go wild with it.
Auditorium vibe, so it can be like, the space can be used for like live music and
Yeah,
stuff too.
multifunctional,
Yeah,
man.
absolutely. We're on the ball, man.
Hey.
We're on the ball.
Jude, we can get these projects, man.
Ooh, get it up and running.
Have a really good
Oh,
feeling.
rock climbing gym, indoor rock climbing gym. That's the other one. The place would be great for.
Fuck yeah. I'm all over that. I think
See,
that's awesome.
you can actually come up with a nice space and collaborate with different professionals and people who do cool stuff and share the same space, because it would gather attention at different times of the year. I think that's something that Coromandel lacks of sometimes, is that middle of the year thing that break, you know?
Yeah, we get a lot of rain.
With something indoors.
Doing Jude.
Yeah, we get a lot of rain, so you need an indoor activity. Get the kids off the screens, you know.
Jude, when was the last time that you had a good or bad experience with rain? Because your job relies quite a lot on rain, right? You growing plants, you're doing beautiful things, so...
Yeah, so we had a flood event about 3 weeks ago. So we were talking about it before, but yeah, it was pretty gnarly for us. We're living in 3 little cabins, 10 square metre cabins at the minute on a farm out by Kaimarama, surrounded by the Whangamanoro River. And yeah, that puffy burst its banks, and we got inundated. There's four pretty crazy hours. But yeah, the water rose real fast, came up through the cabins, moved one of our shipping containers full of clothes and our household stuff, and almost sent it down the river.
So
And,
4 hours. 4 hours. So
pretty much, yeah.
Think of 4 hours of your day. Think from you listening to us right now.
Yeah.
From 12 to 4. Think about that. Or even worse, from 8 to 12. What a bitch that 8 to 12 ain't now your day. In what moments you were like, oh fuck, I better do something?
Yeah, so yeah.
Was it 9 a.m. already? It was like 1 hour in, or?
Yeah, no, it's interesting. Like, we knew it was rain. You know, it had been raining pretty heavy the night before or the morning before, but actually not like, we didn't think it was, super heavy, but it was really isolated, the rain. So I was in another house. I remember about 1 o'clock or something, and I was sweeping out this other place we were building, a storage cabin, but and yeah, just watching the river come up and thinking, oh yeah, it's pretty high, and then sort of gets to a stage of, it's getting pretty close. And then started moving stuff to higher ground, and then suddenly it was sort of coming into the cabins, and luckily I had a mate there, Pete, and he helped us move stuff, and then it was just kind of crazy, when stuff happens quite fast but almost in slow motion, and we're just running around trying to get stuff to higher ground. And there was a time we sort of looked there, and I was on one side of the cabins, and I thought it was all right, and then we looked over to the bridge, the Kaimarama Bridge, and water had actually come up over the bank and was just like a torrent, like coming over the paddocks. So we had these 12 or 2 boards, and we were kind of trying to deflect it off the cabins, as much as we could. And it was just like, it was pretty wild. We had a car stuck in the driveway that I was going to pull out earlier that morning that we forgot about, and that was kind of thing it was going to wash away. But it was pretty wild. And we had a shipping container that I thought was going to head down the stream, and luckily I got caught by some trees.
Man, were you kind of like guiding the shipping container, giving a bit of a, go here? How was that?
We were trying to steer it towards this big old titoki tree. Cheers, man.
Thanks, man.
I didn't want to take out the titoki, but and there's a bunch of willows that had been bugging me for a while, and I was thinking maybe I should, lose those at some stage, but they kind of caught the container, so suddenly they were good.
So don't tidy up stuff.
Yeah.
That's for you, my friends at home. Yeah. You see that little mess? Maybe there's a reason why you left it there.
Yeah. So it was crazy 4 hours. It was
wow.
Yeah,
man.
and then kind of we had to move cars and move the utes out of the way, and it was a bit sketchy going even to get the utes out of it, 4-wheel drive, and so was Pete, but we put them into higher ground. Luckily, it sort of missed all the a lot of the work stuff and the trucks and all that sort of stuff. But Did
you lose some stuff? Is there stuff that you saw it going?
Well, the car kind of was a write off it. The water went right through it, and it was pretty smelly. Yeah, smellier than normal. Yep. But we're pretty lucky, really. Just our clothes we washed, and we had really good bunch of friends came and helped. Scotty and Linda from across down the road, and we all sort of mucked in and just got rid of most of the silt and the stuff out of the cabins, and got onto that pretty fast, and sort of did that till about 9 o'clock, and then had some food, and then just sort of took stock. It's a wild feeling. It's kind of like you'd look around and kind of the water went away, dissipated as fast as it came up. So you kind of sort of look at each other and went, "Shit, did that just happen or what?"
Everything's gone.
Yeah, it's really weird. But then everything's been really wet since, so just dehumidifiers on and heaters and trying to dry everything out and so on. But really grateful to the friends that we had that were there and helped us. Kirk put his digger bucket on top of this water container that was floating up the driveway.
Oh,
and saved that.
Wicked.
So it was a radical experience. It's not something I really want to repeat, but but it was good to go through it, in a way, and see where the water flows when it does a major event. And one of the couches got washed probably about a kilometre down the river and into the middle of a paddock. So it's kind of like
wow.
It's hard to imagine, that much water flowing.
That
And
close, Bloody
and
hell.
quite strong in places.
Man, and that's the thing. Nature will do its thing.
Yeah, man.
It will happen, and that's why so many people talk about the possibilities and like how much you should be prepared. We actually have an interesting show on Monday with David Yellman, and he fights for the siren, the cause for the tsunami sirens. And he's got a big group of people who are engaging with that. A very interesting guy.
Right.
Worked with air controlling like safety and stuff. So like knowledgeable guy coming on Monday. Because that's the thing, like sometimes all that it takes, it's something a little bit out of control for nature that doesn't mean much, but like all the humans around, like I won't say that I'm used to that, but like for us growing up in Brazil, like you see that 3 times a week during a certain time of the year, there's just floods in big cities and people losing all this stuff. And there was one politic, that's a funny story. She got like, she was not bad, but like she kind of like lost her hand at one stage of the time. And then she was just saying some things without thinking too much, like I think you just get fucked over things, like, and then she said something like, because like poor people complain, they have nothing, but when the flood comes, they say they lost it all. Kind of like fuck.
That's terrible.
So like those stories and those things, like we see it happening, like flood and everything, and then here it's just a different idea because like it's in the middle of nowhere. There's a lot of land around you, and then you actually see things flowing. It's not in the city, like the city things go like this. And you actually see going down, like, the paddock, the cows, suddenly there's a couch there, you're like, whoa. So man, just to put some context into this crazy story for the people who are listening to you and have no clue what you're up to. Why actually did you buy that land? What do you do, and what was the reason?
So I've got a landscaping company, Chops Landscaping, and we had a place in town, a little quarter-acre section of the house is lovely, and we kind of outgrew it in a way. The business was getting bigger, and we had our yard, so the guys would turn up, and we got 3 trucks in the driveway and so on, and we were sort of pushing the limit really for what we could do in a residential place. So we started looking for somewhere a little bit bigger, and to be able to kind of develop a nursery for our business. And so that's when we sort of had the idea to find something, a bit more land just out of town. And this one was kind of perfect, apart from the flood factor. But we thought we can deal with that. But it's a lovely piece of whenua. It's there's some really nice old puriri trees and Nico and Titoki, and somebody before us planted kauris that are about 15 or 20 years old now. Oh, cool. So we kind of fell in love with that, and with the idea of being able to collect seeds from there and to revegetate the bank and just have some space and live a lifestyle like that, really, and grow our own food and so on and so forth. So it's but we kind of went into it knowing that it didn't have a hill, so it'd be perfect. We just had a hill, but we're going to kind of create our own. We're going through the council process to try and move a house onto it, and it'll be put on piles and be way up in the air. But yeah, it's it's an interesting move for us. You know, like as a family, we were sort of set up, and now we're sort of living in little 10 square metre cabins on a farm, with 4 cows and a dog.
Do you plan to get more cabins or improve the ones you got, or like you're actually waiting to build a home? What's the long term plan?
So we actually bought a house, like a relocatable, an old villa in Auckland, and you know, we thought it'd be a relatively simple process to bring it down and put it on piles. We didn't have to put it out, but we've got to put it sort of about 3.5 metres in the air. So it's kind of going to be like a pole house in the middle of a farm, in the middle of a paddock. But, well, so far that's what we have to do. So we we didn't want to, you know, pay rent and not be out there and do that. So we thought, well, we'll kind of move into the cabins, and this house won't take long to go through the process, but it's taken a lot longer than we thought. But, so yeah, and then the cabins eventually will be an extension of the house, and we'll connect them with raised boardwalks and things like that. So we'll try and, you know, make it kind of like a place in Bali or something.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Yeah.
I think you just got some more helpers for the next time if a flood comes. You convinced a lot of people to come and help you, man.
Yeah.
Do you have a connection with Bali? Is that a thing?
Well, we've been there a couple of times, but yeah. I was just thinking, actually Australia, or you know, there's places in Queensland too, they have pole houses and things like that. So, yeah, that kind of theme, you know. Yeah, it's probably going to look really weird. Like we have to plant it out because it's just, otherwise it'd be a house like miles in the air on a flat farm. So we've got to nestle onto the landscape somehow.
Yeah.
Great. Man, I was just thinking when you mentioned bringing it from Auckland, like you say it like in a very natural way, which is interesting because when I never had this, I never thought of that. So when I came to New Zealand and I saw that's the first time, I was very surprised, you know, like people actually
like
closing the lands and like, hey, this, look at it. It's a house. You know, like it's so traditional, the brick homes and everything, like this idea of moving stuff, it was actually not part of my reality, and watching them, it's fun. How does it work actually to for that process to be smooth? Is it like a part of the government or whatever that is all ready for it? You just apply for something, or you have to handle all the people doing all the moves separately?
Yeah, so basically there's removal companies, you know, house removal, that's what they do. So any sites, you know, they'll pick up the house, they've got fancy trucks and hydraulics and all sorts, so they can move them all around the place. There's a show, I think, relocatable house show or something. But it's a good
name.
Yeah, I think it's called that. But it's a good way to, well, for us it's cheap, you know, like it's the cost of building new now is quite up there.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of older, you know, weatherboard or character type homes, and and you know, some of them are selling for $1, or they need to get rid of them to build something new on a site. So often the cost is in the moving of them and so on. They've got to do it at night time, and you know, from Auckland to here is a mission. You know, so there's so many one-lay bridges and tight corners, and yeah, it's
has it been done before?
Wow. Yeah, totally.
From Auckland?
The house I grew up in, I think, was a relocatable home. It was a tiny little thing, you know. And they do them 1 or 2 piece shifts, or 3 piece, you know, if it's a huge place. So they sort of cut them down the middle, or you know, wherever they need to cut them. And then bring them on a couple of trucks, and then kind of put them up on piles and kind of stitch them, you know, join them together, and then away you go. But so that's the goal.
Wow, it is a mission. Like again, I just like to know about the process, because I always found it like fascinating, especially when you say cut in the middle. I'm like, what the fuck?
I literally see it in your head, right? Like Lego pieces, just like okay.
Dude, do you get to see a lot of different houses and the ways that they build by doing this job that you're doing now? Like, or it's something that you've been doing for years? Because I actually don't know this part about like your life. Were you actually always involved with building and all the stuff? Even, even before the landscaping? Like, so because you can see so many houses and you know what they're up to because it's part of your job, right? To understand how to put things around and everything. So
Yeah.
are you learning a lot now, or is something that you have?
Yeah, totally. So when I left school, my first trade was as a glazier, like fixing windows, and so we'd go to all sorts of different places, and that was at Mount Maunganui. But it was you seem some really interesting and really cool houses, some all around there. So and then landscaping's the same. We're working in some really beautiful, some high end places and regular places and all sorts, but. So I guess I've been around it for a little while, but to actually do it yourself and go through the process is interesting,
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah.
When it's yours, I imagine that, like when it's your place and you have the land and you're thinking and you got time, right? But at the same time, of course, you're limited in many different ways, but like you got time to think about your land, right? You can look at things. So what you're saying now that you had this experience with the rain and everything, wow, it gives you a whole idea of what to do and what to be aware of when you have the land, like doing work for other people. It's a different kind of pressure, right?
But it's good though. Like, the skills cross credit or transfer over and you see someone come up with a good idea for something and you think, oh, that's great, we can use that so it's really interesting. Drainage is a massive, it's one of the first things that you need to deal with on a site usually. And I'm still racking my brains to sort of figure out something that we can do next time to mitigate, and it keeps me up at night. But it is, it's every site has its challenges, and you can have a steep site, say, or a hill site, and you think, oh, that's great because I don't have to deal with flood, but then you've got to deal with high wind. So any site that has amazing views also usually has a high wind factor, and so there's pros and cons for every site, and one might be amazing, but the driveway costs megabucks to get up there, or it's all it's a challenge, and it's amazing too what people can do and where people have built, and on the side of cliffs, and I love those grand design shows and stuff like that. We watch that all the time and just go, wow, it's amazing that they even did that. And some of the cooler ones too. For us, it's sort of come down to budget. We can only afford, what we could afford. So it was kind of like, oh, well, this is a cheap way to do it. Let's try that.
Yes.
But you kind of, I love recycling stuff, and so to use things that have been there before, and to sort of go down that route and to reuse stuff, I'm quite big on that. So that was a big part of it as well. Yeah.
And that reflects on the on the idea, like to be smart and save the seeds and do things as well, because this is all connected, right? Reusing it and knowing how to regrow. So what's actually the importance of growing these natives and putting them back, because that actually affects the whole system of what's happening around, right? So like, how do you feel about that part of the job? Because that's one that sounds cool when you say, oh, it's actually planting the natives and doing.
It's great. Like, I was lucky enough to be involved in quite a few like revegetation programs, which are like, say, turning areas back into native bush. So basically, the company I worked for, Andy Habs, and Howard Saunders was a big part of that down here. He started a division, but we did projects like, say, for Hotwater Beach, PAR site. We turned it back into native bush, and so from what was kind of like just farmland or scrubland or whatever. And then, they'd do cool things like get the kids involved. So we'd sort of prep the area, and then, you'd get 150 kids from Whanua school or something, and they go plant a plant, and then they can take ownership of that too, and they can see it, go from a tree that's only sort of a couple of feet high to
third one.
You're banging around a bit. But it's cool. And now that like out of the land that we're on at the minute is there's a lot of area of river. The Whangamaroro River meanders right through it, and there's some beautiful re-veg there already, like big poodle, and like I was saying before. But what we'd there's also a big stand of bamboo we'd like to get rid of, and woolly nightshade and gorse and blackberry and all the other shit that comes with it. But to slowly sort of re-veg the bank and to turn it back into bush. Like we've pulled all the fences in from the paddock, so the you know, the stock aren't going into the native area and sort of stop them going into places like that to give it a chance to regrow. But yeah, it's a really exciting part of it, and to watch it and to, you know, sort of, you know, part of it's my lifetime, but, you know, the kids' lifetime, and for them to get an appreciation of it too, and just to sort of see what we can do to grow a forest.
Oh, that's awesome.
Hey, do you think that? Sorry, were you going for something?
No,
because
that's okay.
No, I was just thinking, like, do you think there's knowledge enough about those things? Because what I see a lot is people loaning them all, you know, loaning. And it's all mowing the lawns. And it's all like, I'm like, wow, this is pretty flat, people. You know, because you appreciate when you see a nice bush there, you know, like well looked after, and people thinking about what plant's gonna be there. So I wonder if you see it as a thing that it's out there and people actually get to engage with their gardens. I think in the korero there is, but it's not. Is it the majority of the people?
Oh, I don't know. It's hard to, like, and it's horses for courses. You know, it's not. Not everybody wants to, you know, take on such a big. And I was even nervous about it when we bought it. You know, it's like, crikey, there's a lot of weeding and time on a scrub bar and things like that. And you know, a lot of the you know, most of our native bush is quite big, and so sometimes there's not the space for it, or sometimes there is space for a smaller garden. So it's horses for courses a little bit, you know, like, there's people have been doing this for years, you know, like, there's some really great docos actually. There's one, something that, like, Only Fools and Dreamers, or Fools and Dreamers, something like that. It's a really good, that was really inspirational. And it was about a guy, I can't remember who he was now, but he was turning, like, marginal kind of farming land, so farmland that was quite steep and you know, not great pasture wise, into re-veg back when it wasn't really popular or wasn't a thing, and now it's become a park. I'll try and remember his name, but yeah, cool. it's awesome, and there's tracks through it, and he rides his bicycle every day, and he's
that's awesome.
I'm trying to remember his name, but it's something like Fools and Dreamers. It's a really good doco. And another one we watched recently was Fight for the Wild, where they're trying to capture and kind of get rid of all possums, stoats, and rats by about 2050, and kind of fencing off areas and trying to bring back the native bird life. Yeah. And there's different groups all around New Zealand trying to do that, and yeah, it's so yeah, I think it's definitely a move. Well, yeah, I think it's a movement, but I think it needs to happen more, possibly.
Yeah, I agree.
But we're more aware of, and you know, the way the planet is at the minute, we just have to keep doing that. And
every little bit counts.
Yeah, totally. You know, yeah.
Do you know much of, like, those introduced pests like possums and stoats and stuff? Do they particularly like natives? Like native trees and stuff, or do they
are they fancy?
Well,
or do they like? Is there a preference? Do you know?
Yeah, so everything.
Because I know that they, yeah, it's
all connected to, like, the bird life, and so, like, so, and which is connected to native trees. You know, like, so some of the natives need to, the seed needs to pass through the gullet of a bird to actually produce a seedling, and so when that species of tree dies out, or that species of bird dies out, it creates that gap in the chain, you know. So they kind of rely on each other. And the trouble with the possums and stoats and whatnot is that the birds aren't keeping up. Like, they're such ferocious predators that the birds can't keep up with the reproduction. So they're slowly, you know, dying out, which makes a chain, makes that break in the chain for the native.
Yeah, for the seedlings.
Yeah. So, and the birds will migrate too, you know, naturally, before there were predators and so on. They'd kind of, you know, go from, you know, one area to another quite easily, following the food sources. And so when that kind of stops, then yeah, it's the doco's a lot better than what I can probably explain it, but it is a cycle, you know.
Yeah.
I just feel like it's a good idea to promote this, because the website is filmsfortheplanet.com, which sounds pretty cool, and it's Fools and Dreamers.
There you go.
30-minute documentary telling the story of Hinewai Nature Reserve on Canterbury's Bank Peninsula, and it's Kaitiaki. Kaitiaki,
Okay.
manager of 30 years, botanist Hugh Wilson. We learn about the commitments of Hugh and the Maurice White Native Forest Trust to regenerate marginal hilly farmland into native forest using a minimal interference method that allows nature to do the work, giving life to over 1.5 hectares of native forest. 1,500 hectares of native forest, waterways, and the creatures that live within them. Cool, man. We'll check it out. Thanks for the recommendation. So
That's awesome.
every small action counts, man. What
Yeah.
you just said about the birds and everything, yeah, it really makes you it made me reflect on how sometimes we don't understand a problem, and you're actually fucking up with the whole system because man actually brought the pests, right?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And it's that thing that you know, gorse was an introduced thing into New Zealand too. I think it came from the Scottish Highlands, and it grows sort of about they're big, and it gets to the New Zealand climate, and suddenly it's an
like
invasive pest. It's a hassle. So it's interesting. I mean, another side of that is if we sort of did nothing, then eventually the native would just come back, and you know it would be a forest. But the fact that we can help it along a little bit, and probably need to, is kind of cool. And it's amazing, like New Zealand's naturally most of the native is slow growing, but it's incredible once they get their head above, say, the kikuyu or the some of the other woolly nightshade or gorse or so, then it doesn't take long before you can see it's winning the battle. So it's just a few years of kind of looking after the weeds around it, clearing around the seedlings, and then you're sort of on top of it a little bit more. So it's sort of encouraging to be involved in projects where you actually go back 5 or 10 years later and go, wow, it's actually above my head height, And for kids planting trees too, like I say, they take ownership of that and they go, oh, I planted that tree, and it's over their heads now. It's so it's a cool thing.
That's cool.
Yeah, I remember doing I think we did it with like maybe Curry 2000 or something.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah, when we came up in somewhere, I think it was more on the dark side. We planted, I'm pretty sure they were carry trees, but it was like such a cool outing. And then when we were older, and like I know kids in the horticulture class when you're in like high school got to go with the younger kids as well to go do carry planting and stuff. So there's like so many times I've been. I think that's really awesome. Yeah. It's just
Do you think we're gonna have time to reverse damages? Are you an optimistic? Are you a realist?
I don't know, man. I hope so.
You're doing your
from
part,
a kid's
right?
sake. And, I mean, that's all we can do, and we're lucky enough to, be on a piece of land. We can do that and watch it ourselves. But I mean, you don't have to do that either. You can do like volunteer groups and stuff like that. But totally, as much as we can do to
man, you can recycle your rubbish to start with, right?
Yeah,
a lot
totally.
of people, a friend was telling me today this story. I'm not gonna say names for the sake of small town. Like this bunch of people that live in cabins all close to each other, and they don't get the recycling bin. Like the landlord is not putting the recycling bin, and no one is actually saying anything. They're just filling up the blue bag every week, And I heard it, I was like, that shouldn't be happening. She's like, I know, right? I just moved there. I want to do something. But the landlord has to, someone has to put the thing there. And it's always the small action. It's always it's the first thing that comes to my mind when people say, when pessimist people say, like, oh, we're fucked, we're ruined. We're like, even if you think that, can you do one thing, please? At least, right? Like, are you just saying it, or do you do anything right? So I always think about what can you do, because people live in cities, sometimes they don't have a green thing close to them, like it's so far, and then they're like, it's ruined anyway. But like, nah, you can do
a little
your
thing.
part.
Yeah, totally. And you're right. It's a mindset a lot of the time. It's like, what, I can't do anything, or maybe I can do that. So and even cities, are getting greener. There's places that do green walls now, so they have these systems and they look amazing, and they're just so much nicer to be. We went to Auckland months ago or something, but they'd done a project on the top of a shopping mall, and it just blew me away. I think it was Westfield perhaps, or something like that, but it was just amazing. On the top of there was like it was a jungle, and it was shops in between, and
a Westfield shop.
I think it was
Shopping
Westfield Mall or something. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I think Natural Habitats did the project, but just looked beautiful. You know, the rooftop gardens everywhere and creepers and
Oh,
yeah,
cool.
so it was cool. And it was right in the middle of the city. You know, you couldn't really see it from the street, but once you got up in there, you're like, oh, this is epic.
That reminds me of like Singapore Airport, where they've got like I think like 2, maybe 3 different. Here I was about to say something like non-factual, but I think it's like 2 different hemispheres sort of garden things. They've got like a rain,
Cool.
like jungle, tropical sort of thing, like in a dome area.
Wow.
Oh, I don't actually here I go again. I don't actually think it's at the airport, but at Singapore, at the Marina Gardens, there's that's insane as well. It's like walking around, pretty much you walk your way up like a man-made waterfall, but it's like one of the tallest indoor waterfalls in the world. But it's like you're in like
and bush
but it's I don't know, some like Amazon sort of type jungle plants and stuff all around you and stuff. But at the Singapore airport as well, upstairs in one part of the airport, they've got like a desert garden where it's just like a bunch of cactus.
Wow,
like
cool.
and you can just like go in and walk around, and they've got like little signs and stuff and tells you about them, but like heaps of different types, and it's like the atmosphere, I wouldn't go as far as say the atmosphere, but just like the temperature and stuff in there is kept to a certain way so these certain plants can live. But at an airport, or like in an indoor dome thing, it was like massive. But
I was trying to look for it on Google. There's a few. I'm not sure. I would send it to Taylor.
I think.
Yeah?
That might be it, yeah.
Taylor is Westfield green top. Just if you got the chance, if you find it, just because it does look cool.
Yeah.
Do you think it's harder? It would cost more to do those things that actually support, or for someone who is actually doing that kind of work, or it's not that hard to revisit and make something ugly a little bit cooler?
It totally can be done. There's another guy, Hunderwasser, this artist, you might have heard of him, Friedrich Hunderwasser. He spent time in New Zealand, but he's from Austria. And I think, in the 60s, anyway, he came, in Austria there was a movement, I think maybe in the 50s, there's quite brutal architecture, like really strong sort of concrete forms, and it was kind of minimalist or something, but he called himself an architecture doctor. And he would go through and do things like he was big on tiles and shapes and curves, and he hated the straight line, you know. But he'd do things like, you know, pretty it up with big onion-shaped turrets and things like that, but also put in plants wherever possible and have what he called tree tenants. So he was probably, maybe one of the first, I don't know, but he would design these buildings that had trees sort of growing up the sides of them. And
cool.
it was really cool. And there's a museum I'd really love to go to in Europe. But he also spent time somewhere up north. I forget now. He beautified this toilet block, and it's just incredible. But
what's his name again?
Hunderwasser. Hundertwasser. Spelling lesson.
You're good. I would have stopped into hunt. Yeah.
No, he's a real forward-thinking sort of a dude, and like I said, and he said the thing is it took about the same amount of time to build these radical shaped. You know, he had a lot of detractors or people who said, you know, you can't do or you know, it's going to cost too much to do this sort of stuff. But the form of it all was just so unique. And you know, apartment blocks can look really quite sterile, and you know, one's by the other. And his idea was to sort of, you know, give them some individuality and shape. And so, you know, he used really bright colours, and it was just, you know, psychologically it just felt better, and not to have straight forms and have nature around you, even if you're in a city. So, I think you definitely can. It's just a lot of it's design, you know, and people are coming up with new stuff all the time for that. And you know, I think we can, you know, good design can save the world in a way. You know?
Oh man,
for sure. Yeah.
I was thinking if the fact that a lot of places nowadays in the world, especially in areas like this one where we live, where you sell the sections with a lot of restrictions about colors and everything, I know that it's frustrating for someone artistic like you, but does it become an opportunity to thrive with the vegetation and the colors? I think so.
Yeah, totally. And you know, a black house can look good with, can make plants stand out or white out or whatever. But I get it. I'm not going to paint my house pink or anything, but but I want to be able to paint it the colour that I want to be able to paint it, in a way. But yeah, definitely, I think greening up, and even when we had our little quarter-acre section, which is not so little actually, compared to what they are now, but I went to a thing where I could try to fit as many fruit trees onto the place as I could.
Nice.
And there's ways of doing stuff that you get a double use out of it. Like say we had a guava hedge, which looked like a normal hedge, but had all these little guava berries on it. And there's more than what we could eat, so to have birds come and feast on them. Or we had a blueberry hedge, or you can make a feijoa hedge, and so there's a lot of ways to wedge, food sources. I mean, street trees could also be fruiting trees or whatever, potentially.
So many people talk about this, and I don't understand why it doesn't go ahead, because it seems to be a thing in the past, right? In a lot of places, we would have the fruit trees just everywhere. Yeah,
or food forest. Out in Aotearoa, I think they've started a food forest, and little, an area of land that wasn't used so much, somewhere by the tennis courts, but people are planting fruit trees and encouraging people to go and eat them. I mean, as kids growing up here, it was we're surrounded by batches, and so we knew every tree just about in the neighbourhood.
Yeah.
And when it was free, we'd go and snaffle a whole lot of feijoas.
Some of them must be still there. Some of them must be delicious nowadays, right? And when you find a nice tree that has been fruiting for a while, you're like,
yeah. Well, we're lucky in New Zealand. We've got a really strong gardening background, and I was reading the New Zealand Garden magazine.
Good read.
To my age. But it was saying that there's we've got a lot of heritage, just for example, apple trees, and some of them that have been kind of lost in England, but someone's brought the seed over here and they've grown them on, and we're collecting seed, and so we can pass it back. So it becomes sort of a when people are interested, or it can transcend sort of boundaries or whatever. We can share, and the seed saving is another really important thing.
Yeah, people talk so much about the evolution of technology and all these places where humanity is going to, and I always dream, because I'm a dreamer. Like, imagine if we were doing that alongside with this revolution of bringing back real food. Imagine humans thriving the way that we're smart as fuck now, because we are, right? Like, we're out there, we're out space, we're doing cool things, but like, we make the biggest mistakes by not focusing on these things, like the fresh air, the food that is just there available, that will make you thrive when you eat it, makes you feel good. I understand that the planet is huge and you have to process some food and send it. Cool. Can we try to minimize and work smart? So I always feel like places like the Coromandel can be an example, if people get together and actually put a little bit of time and effort.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so lucky, like with our climate here, there's all sorts of stuff we can grow. And we've got rain.
Do it.
But a lot of places don't, and they're really limited as to what they can grow. We've got a great growing season. I think there's some guys up north that are growing coffee beans. I can't remember where now, but I was watching a doco on that the other day. It's wild. I got a friend of a friend who's growing bananas in a hothouse around Mount Maunganui area, like commercially, and pretty decent size.
Here
bananas.
As well, like except some people in hot sweater.
Totally, yeah. So we're lucky, in a way, and we've got fertile land.
You grew up here, bro?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know the area.
A little bit.
Have you suffered with not having water over summer before, or is it a new thing?
True. That's a good question, actually. I can't remember it as a kid. Although,
Sandra, is our friend. Is that her thing or no? Maybe not.
Tell you what it's like. Not anymore. Yeah.
Oh, like water supply. Yeah. I mean, it's an interesting one, isn't it? It's there's a lot of pressure on our systems now. Yeah, and I think it's I don't know where to go with that one. It's
No, but I would, but see, like just understanding the growth of a place, right?
Sure.
Because you've been around, you know, like we don't have to be political about water. It's just like the most essential thing that it could be very well looked after.
Yeah.
Right. You know, like I just agree with that. When people say, oh, but there's this move, and I'm like, I'm just worried about the water, you know, like, are we going to get it right? You know, because there's nothing more frustrating than water contamination.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, like air, it's going to be the big thing.
Yeah.
Because we're fucking that up. But like water is quite.
Oh, it's huge.
You know?
Yeah. I mean, it's, we just moved next to a river. So it's kind of like we've been drinking the water there. We now filter it, but we've been drinking it unfiltered, and luckily we haven't been sick or anything like that. So I think we're pretty lucky in that respect. But yeah, it's definitely a precious commodity, man. It's we got to look after it, and the fact that we get, I mean, it's interesting. Even we moved from town. It's basically just out of town where we are, but it did throw off a lot of things for me, like how much water we use. For a while we were in the camping shower, and that was going into a hole, and then from that I was bucketing it out and throwing it on a reef plant. So, I'm one of the kids. I was like, there's 6 buckets worth. I'm gonna go, So suddenly, like it was like, no, you can't have a 20-minute shower. I've got to bucket out 6 buckets, and you have to manually do it. Whereas before, it just went down the sink and
you're just oblivious to
it. Pretty much, and when you're on tank supply, you suddenly get really conscious of how much water you're using, and rain is lovely, and it's so everything is a commodity, and the least pressure we can put on it all, the more we can recycle. I've worked in Australia quite a lot, and they have a really good system for recycling water, and it's not something we've had to really do yet, I don't think, but because we're getting a bigger population, we're starting to people are having to control their stormwater off their sections and things like that. So I think we're becoming more conscious. But definitely we need to be really conscious of that. Like that's what I was going. In Australia, say for example, we worked on the Homebush. It was like after the Olympics came to Sydney, and they turned all the Olympic Village into apartments for people. But they had a big pond there where all the grey water, which is like the not your sewage, but your kitchen waste or your garden tap and that. So that got put into a pond at the bottom of the subdivision, and then piped back through and used in people's gardens. So you couldn't drink it, but it sort of went through some sort of filtration. But it was a good way of reusing it, or just to be able to water your garden. But it requires forward planning, and we have an issue. Well, not an issue, but our water table is quite high. So there's probably technical issues with that. I don't know if you could do that specifically, but people are starting to put tanks in their properties, and I mean, one of the worst things we do really is join the grey water with the black water.
Black water is the shit one?
Yeah, pretty much. Okay. Yeah. So when they're separated, you can kind of reuse. Like if you're not using too gnarly detergents or bleach or so on, then you can quite easily kind of reuse your grey water. The black water, is probably not, but you could you can have composting toilets and things like that. So, like I say, we've never really had to deal with that before because we have a high rainfall in the Coromandel. But it's definitely something that we possibly need to look at. And it's the other trouble is it just contaminates the clean water. So it's just that circle, It's
So being prepared it's quite important, isn't it? We were talking about that before, like what's the probability of this, the possibility of this to happen, and you're like, well, if there is a possibility and you have smart humans to come up with resources and ideas, why not giving it a go? When people say filtering the water, I always think about that because you buy a filter, and but like When you are doing it, when you're getting from a place and you filter, is that an easy way to filter your water, like to make it safe, to make it drinkable? Like,
well, yeah, I'm no expert on it, but we have a UV filter. I think it's a UV filter, and it takes out something like 99.9% of the bugs. And I think the main thing you can get maybe is Giardia or something like that. Which we didn't actually get. We were sort of drinking from the stream, but it's a risk, so I thought, oh, we'll get a filter. And I think they have to be changed. I don't understand the process so much, but yeah, I think it's relatively easy to get it done. yeah. My dad had a system, this crazy thing from Japan, a Kangen water filter or something. It's this big square, it looked like a small fridge. But it was supposed to filter out and make the water more alkaline.
Oh, alkaline?
Like
I've seen those things. Yeah, my friends have
Yeah.
one,
Yeah.
and I don't know what I make of it because I don't know why you want
Do
to
you
make
get
your water
one?
so
Do you
much
have
more
one?
alkaline.
No, I don't. No, my dad bought one. It
Oh, you
cost
fart.
yeah. And so I was drinking the water there. I actually couldn't tell the difference much, but apparently the alkalinity
Alkaline,
is really good for you, and they used it in hospitals in Japan or something like that. So
is that must be a mineral or something, or
Yeah.
whatever?
It's a pH balance.
Yeah, but I mean,
alkaline.
on the thing, that's something that makes it alkaline, like a mineral or something that. Wow.
Presumably.
yeah.
So dad
What
got
you want coming out of
some interesting things at
Yeah.
home. Does he save some stuff? Tell me more. What
Oh,
all
yeah.
the interesting things has he got? Alkaline
dude.
and stuff. It sounds cool.
Yeah. He's got all sorts. But that's just one. People were coming and picking up water from there, but he's he should probably have a show himself.
Where is he at the moment? Haven't seen that for a while.
No, he's in Indonesia, somewhere near G-Land, I think. Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah.
Planning to come back. Planning to visit the
think
land.
I think he probably is planning to come back at some stage. He's been there since lockdown, since the he snuck out just before we got all locked down. So yeah, he's been there a little while now, actually. Yeah. Pretty classic.
Did you get some of these things that you're interested in from him? Has he got a similar vibe with like being out there, outdoors?
Yeah, I mean, he was a gardener in his own right, but most of what he grew wasn't legal. So
Well, you learned, hey Jude.
I didn't follow that path.
I was just watching, officer.
Yeah.
I was just a child, Shout out to Dad, man. Shout out.
Yeah. I mean, Mum was always a keen gardener too. We'd always eat from the vegetable garden, growing up and stuff like that. So
Oh, cool.
It was good. It was, we kind of had to, but.
And do you remember helping? Do you like?
I just kind of hated gardening as a kid. It was one of those chores you had to do, and I was like, I don't want to do this. I'm going to be doing other stuff,
Yeah.
But I guess when I first got into landscaping or that side of it, I moved to Sydney when I was about 21, 22, and I couldn't find a blinking job for so long, and then I just started sort of labouring and landscape labouring for a company, and the crew were really cool. Like the job was quite hard, and I had to travel to different sites and get on buses and so on. But the guys that I worked with were all really kind of down to earth, and it reminds me of my crew back here. So that's when I sort of got interested in that side of it a bit more. Yeah, I never wanted to do it. I wanted to be a graphic designer when I was a kid, and I was really interested in art, and I still am, and I would I like that side of it too. But yeah, the gardening is something that I kind of fell into, but it's rewarding in that it. Like my first trade was as a glazier, like I said, but at the end of the day with landscaping, it is quite creative as well, and you can see what you've done at the end of the day, and you can there's a lot of different things you can do. Yeah, so yeah, it's cool. It's nice.
How often do people ask? Let's say when you approached by someone for a job, do they sort of put the sort of artistic reins into your hands? Do they often do that, or do they come up with their own plan?
Yeah, a lot of both. Like some people have quite strong ideas on what they want, or have their own landscape design already.
Yeah.
And other people are kind of like, oh, I don't really know, or leave it to you, or I like this and this and this, and so it's usually we've started sort of giving people a questionnaire, like just to get them thinking about how they want to use the space and what they're interested in, because everyone's different, and people might like I don't know, citrus trees or something, and other people might be allergic to them or whatever. So it's just trying to get you thinking about the space and how you want to use it, and then tailoring a garden or an outdoor space to suit that, and to suit your lifestyle. If you like to entertain, then you probably want an outdoor deck area and a patio, maybe a fireplace or whatever. Or if you want to be quite private, then you might want a little spa pool or whatever. So yeah, it's really horses for courses, but and also of course what you've got existing to deal with, or you might be in a beautiful bush setting, and it's it's a really wide variety. It's people can come with quite strong ideas about what they want, or be quite open to what we throw at them.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Is there any sort of like opportunity you've had where you've got to be like super creative and like do like really put your stamp on someone's garden or property before? Yeah,
in a way. I mean, each one is a little bit like that, but we're kind of trying to tailor it for at the end of the day, it's the client's garden.
Yeah,
so it's kind of like, as much as I like a certain thing, it's sort of trying to put myself in their shoes and go, okay, you like this and this, and you have dogs or whatever, and they need to do this. So, but yeah, definitely there's I quite like a tropical theme garden, but I like a lot of native as well. And there's people who like similar things, so yeah, each one is fun, and I can't think of one that really stands out. We've worked on some beautiful properties and been really lucky in that aspect. We've done some crazy, like we had to pull a digger through someone's house one time to get to the back of it. So, because there's no other access, and things like that. So it gets interesting, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's kind of cool.
How many people do you have working with you at the moment?
I think we're about, including myself and Lev, about 13, 14, something like that. So,
cool.
Yeah.
Solid.
Yeah. It's crazy. I never meant for it to get that big. But it's interesting, been interesting growth. And the guys are all great. I started off on my own with a wheelbarrow and an old shitty ute and was doing everything. And then slowly it was sort of... growing into what it is now. And
how long was this journey from when you were just doing your thing to now?
So, well, my daughter's 12, so about 11 years.
Wow.
Yeah, it's sort of, it was an interesting time for me. I just kind of bought, me and my partner just bought a house. My daughter was on the way, and the people I was working for there was a recession time, and so they pulled out, and so I kind of was forced to go on my own in a way, which was one of the best things that could have happened. But it was really hand to mouth at the start. It was like, crikey, what do I do now? I've got to pay the mortgage, and so it was a big learning curve. But yeah, it's been sort of good. I was sort of picking up any sort of work I could do, garden maintenance and all that sort of stuff, and just whatever I could get. It's kind of grown. I mean, the town's grown since then, and hopefully, we've sort of grown. And yeah, we're trying things a little bit different this year too. I'm trying to learn the art of delegation, and
cool. Which is so important that you get it well, because then you can be so much more creative. That's the thing, when you have a team that you can trust, it opens up.
It really
people
does.
feel validated, because you're putting them to lead, to do the work, and you're doing the creative. You're going after new people and new ideas, and you got good ethics. Like, you think with that mentality of like, can I use natives here? Can I make it smart to display? So it's likely to grow. Like, it's hard to not. That's cool.
Well, it's nice having people around you too that have really different skill sets and better. A lot of the guys are way better at landscaping than me, or they've got really unique skill sets. That are stronger than mine. In the areas. Like I like the design side of it. And other guys, we've got a stonemason on our team, and builders, guys who can, project manage and drive machinery and things like that. So, yeah, it's kind of cool. And also bringing young guys up through, and developing them and having the older guys show the young. And yeah, it's really neat, that side of it. We've even got an office admin lady now, and she's great, Melinda.
Linda.
and
great,
then
Linda,
and my partner Lee, she's getting right into the nursery side of it, so she's doing her Hort Cert course, and she's got a real, she's come from, not a gardening background. She used to have her own hairdressing salon, but she's gotten big into the landscape and into growing plants and to learn, plant culture and how to do things like that. So it's really cool, nice to have. You do get a lot more out of a team. The skill sets is incredible. It's cool to see and be part of and sort of try and let guys do their thing.
Hey, appreciate that, because sometimes you can see that growth is not happening because people are not giving voice and autonomy to the ones who are already on the in part of the team, right? It's like they're already there, they're already with you, like there's a lot of conflict sometimes, and you're like, get the best out of those people, like it thrives.
Yeah, well, that's the thing I didn't want to lose. Like I say, working for this company in Sydney, it was it felt like you're all doing it together, and it was a real good feeling. It was that feeling of everyone's there just to get the job done, and it was good camaraderie. So I didn't want to lose that. As you get bigger, it's hard. You got to just watch that everyone stays together and everyone's happy and gelling and so on and so forth, and you get into people management almost, which is odd for me, but it's part of it, and hopefully we're on the right track, and we're sort of it feels a lot different this year. I'm kind of letting things go a little bit, and Pete's been project managing, which has taken a lot of the weight off my shoulders. And
how long have you guys been friends for?
Since we were about 4. So
that helps,
it does,
that's cool.
and
Good,
a lot of the some of the guys like Scotty on my team who we've known each other since school. I mean, it's great, in a way, growing up here, and this I was really keen for my kids to go to the school as well, because you have a crew that you sort of stay with from 5 through to 16 if everyone stays in school, kind of thing. And then brothers and sisters, you sort of get to know their friends and their things, and so you have that history, and sometimes it's a pain, but everyone knows what everyone's doing. But
gotta be nice to them as well. They're in the community.
But no, generally it's really neat. You've got a friendship that goes back a long way, and everyone knows who you are, and there's no pretending to be what you're not, kind of things.
You can even try to grow the beards like yours right now. People still know chops. The chops are still there, man. What about the surf, bro? Because you're into it. That's a big part of your life.
I haven't been out for a while. Most of my surfing now is pushing the kids into waves, and I might get a token wave at the end when it's turned onshore and crappy. But no, it's we're in a really neat place for that. This is such a playground, and it's been good. I mean, when we were growing up, it was. It's funny on the East Coast, because sometimes you get a run of swell for weeks or months on end, and then suddenly it'll just go flat. So when you're trying to learn and you sort of get to a stage and then there's no waves for ages, and you're just like, starting from like this, back there. So everyone was pumped to get cars and, be able to travel into Hotwater Beach or go to the West Coast or whatever. But it's a big part, and it's I'm stoked my kids are sort of starting to get into it now, and Lee's keen as there's a really good scene down at the local boat club there, and it's been a great
hub.
It is, man. Surfers, it's just been really good banksy, like really good wave shapes there, and perfect for learning, and the bay's a funny one, sometimes it'll look like it'll be absolute rubbish, and then just a slight change of the tide or a wind swing or something like that, and it'll just turn on. It's
perfect
for maybe an hour or two, and then it just turns off again. So you got to be really on the button.
Be there.
You totally do. You turn on. Oh, it was firing like half an hour ago. No, it wasn't.
So you can prank people more often now. Oh, it was good, man. I told you. You just wanted to have a beer with a friend, so you give the excuse. Man, the waves are beautiful. So they're gone, man.
Yeah, the amount of genuine conversations I've had in passing, people are like, yeah, nah, dude, it was on. They're like, nah, we were just there. And they're like, look.
20 metres along the beach, it was pumping.
Have you traveled a lot after good surf or mainly New Zealand?
Yeah, a little bit. I sort of did my first. I travelled when I was 21. I flew to Darwin in Australia, and then sailed from there to South Africa via
wow.
Cocos and Mauritius Island. I was lucky, our mate Felix, he got me on board this kind of yacht regatta that was sailing from Portugal around the world and back to Portugal. They stopped in a whole bunch of places, but I managed to sort of scam my way into that. And so we surfed a little bit there. Then I backpacked around South Africa. And
what year was that, bro? Sorry.
Oh, dude, that was I was 21 and 46 now, so it was about 97, 98.
Yep.
Oh, Expo 98. Yeah. The yachting thing was the Expo 98. So it was 1998. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Boom. Got it.
But
and how was that experience? Was the first time backpacking in Africa?
Yeah,
cool, man. That's already a
yeah.
story itself there.
Yeah.
Shit.
So it was pretty fresh and naive, and you throw yourself into these things when you're young, and but no, it was really good. It was I stopped off in Cape Town, and then we backpacked through Namibia. I met up with this German guy. Our plan was pretty ambitious, was to backpack all the way up to Germany, and then he had a Volkswagen, but we never got there. But,
but there was a plan.
There was a plan.
There was a plan, bro. There was a plan.
But and then we were going to go through Europe. But I made it about as far as a place called Malawi, which is near Zimbabwe. But they got sort of running out of money, and wasn't near the ocean, so. But yeah, it was really cool. I met this German guy in Cape Town, and then we were hitchhiking and getting cheap buses and stuff, and backpacked up through Namibia, and then Zimbabwe, and then a place called Malawi, and then I flew out of Zimbabwe to Los Angeles, of all places, where my uncle was.
Yeah, that's
full culture shock. Yeah.
That's what I was thinking. How was the landscapes? How was the houses, the styles, the colors?
Yeah.
Were you already interested, or there was too much going on?
Nah, see, I need to go back, because I didn't have that background at all of landscaping then. Like I'd been to, that was before I went to Sydney. So, I was just sort of looking for surf and and all the rest of it. But
do you remember seeing places that people were living and kind of so that's actually how?
Yeah, like the whole thing was a trip for me, because growing up here, and I moved to Tauranga for 4 or 5 years, but just being anywhere outside of Whitianga was a buzz. But yeah, South Africa was a trip. It was really wild country, just beautiful landscape, but really. You always sort of have to watch your back a little bit there too, and it was kind of good in a way. Like we're obviously, me and my mate had no money, so we didn't, all the locals were quite, and my mate was really friendly, and so.
So your organs were at risk.
Yeah.
Brazil. Might as well have some money on you. It's bad if you have some money on you.
Probably no one like my kidneys anyway.
Bro, you don't want the kidneys. Go and
kidneys
then
are ruined.
Yeah. Well, 21, man. Maybe it was a little bit better.
Not quite that.
And then Los Angeles.
Shit. Well, I had an uncle and auntie in San Diego. And I was literally down to my last few dollars. I think it was a crazy trip how I got there. I used to be able to get, or maybe you still can, standby flights. Have you ever heard of those? But sort of basically, if somebody cancels a flight at the last minute, then you get this cheap flight into somewhere.
So you just sit in the airport.
Kind of, like a little backpacker, and I got a call.
Yeah, because you wouldn't have a phone, right? You wouldn't have a text.
Yeah, totally, yeah. So I sort of put my name down for the standby flight.
Jude head pops up.
Yeah.
Did you say Los Angeles?
Let's do it, man. But yeah, it was funny how it all worked out. I mean, things always work out, but that one was particularly a trip. But before me and my German mate Marcus, we started the trip, I'd given my surfboard to this girl Elke from the Netherlands, like Holland, and said, "Oh, can you take this and maybe I'll pick it up on the way or something?" And because we were planning to go and see my mate and get his Volkswagen and go through Europe, but anyway, so the standby.
That was the
That was the plan. It fell apart like in Malawi. So we ended up getting the standby flight at the last minute, and it had a stopover in Holland, and for like 4 days. And I was like, oh sweet, I'll just stop there and get my board and then fly to LA. So I never had a freaking visa for LA. They told me at the embassy, oh, you don't need a visa. And I was like, okay. So naive. So anyway, I flew in, like they phoned me up in the airport. They said, oh, you got a flight. It's early the next day. And so I couldn't phone ahead or anything. And I was just like, I'll turn up and have a backpack. And anyway, we flew to Holland. It was super early in the morning. I was there Queen's birthday, the Dutch Queen's birthday, whatever that is. But so I had Elke's parents' number and I phoned them, and they didn't speak English and I didn't speak Dutch. So, but they managed to give me her number, and then phoned ahead, and then I'd take this certain buses and so on. And then she picked me up on her bicycle, and we stayed there for a couple of days, and picked up my surfboard, and then I flew into LA, and the guy kind of, you're waiting at the customs, and got my surfboard and my backpack, and I sort of rock up, and he's like, so you're from New Zealand? I was like, yeah. And he's like, you've been traveling in Africa? And I was like, yeah. You got no visa? I was like, oh no, they sort of told me I didn't need one. And he's like, well, and you've got no flight out. I said, oh no, I'll get one, And the guy's looking at me like from another planet. And I'm sort of starting to think, oh, this might be a bit serious, And anyway, he's like, oh, I'm going to have to, go and sit over there. And I was sort of sitting there, and I was thinking, oh shit, no, this isn't good. And then this like real sort of angry lady sort of picks up my passport and looks at it, and then she got called away, and then this other dude picks it up and calls out my name, and I went there, and he's like, oh, went through the same questions, and he sort of just shakes his head and he goes, all right, get out of here. I was like, what do you mean? And I was like, oh, and he's like, yeah, go pick up your bags, you're in. You've got a 3-month visa. And I was like,
So you told this story very well 4 times. You said the same words. You told the truth.
Yeah, man. Well, I think it wasn't even me. It was like, apparently it was their biggest day in aviation history. Like they had some sort of, I don't know, something going on anyway. And they just had so many people to process that I think they just like,
they're just letting a bunch of people go.
Too much, it was too crazy. But yeah,
Jude looks all right.
Yeah.
New Zealand.
Yeah, they know nothing. But yeah, it was pretty funny. And then I had to get a bus, and I just caught the bus. I literally actually spent like I think my Visa card got declined, and I had to borrow some money off my uncle to pay for the bus ride to there. Ended up having to work for 3 months just to get a ticket back to New Zealand under the table and so on. But one of those traveling in.
What jobs did you do in America? What was the cool things about America? 3 months there is a good time.
Yeah, I mean mostly I just worked there, and actually it was like a real culture shock for me. Like coming from Malawi, which is like the 3rd poorest country in the world. In the world, I think, to like just a big land of excess. It just blew me away, so I'd like to go back because I'd probably appreciate it a bit more. But then I was just like sort of a bit self-righteous and do you good? But the guy I worked for was actually quite cool. Actually, he was he did gardenscapes, so he made water features, and I spent a whole bunch of time in a factory just doing these sort of pond linings and things like that. And then on the weekends I'd go to the beach. I'd bike down to the beach and go for a surf or something. But it was a good time. I mean, like I say, a lot of it I was just sort of working to afford a trip, a plane ride back. But it was fun, and it was cool staying with my uncle and aunt and my little cousins and stuff, and nephews and nieces, and it was part of the journey, but it was a real culture shock. Like that's what I mainly remember, going on the beach and everyone was tanned and tattooed, and I just come from Malawi, and it was just everyone was dirt poor and carrying sacks of rice, and it was just it kind of blew me away. It was a real.
It's a good
trip.
thing, isn't it, to have a look out there, see what's happening, and different
totally.
people.
Yeah. it was really nice. I mean, I haven't done a lot of. I mean, I've travelled a little bit. I bounced backwards and forwards between Australia and New Zealand after that in my 20s, and we've done a couple of family trips to Bali and things like that. But I've never really.
So you've taken the kids out like for a surf to a different country or something?
Yeah. We went. We did
cool.
a family trip to Bali, and then we went to Lombok Island, which is really neat, and rode scooters and yeah. So yeah, that was cool as well. We were pretty looked after, I had a friend who's over there, and Lee was hooking us up. He's been going there for ages and knew all the local crew. It was kind of like,
nice.
yeah.
Knowing people, really helps, when you got the
yeah.
contacts around the world.
Yeah. It's cool. I mean, it's nice. It's kind of well, I don't know if it's easier, but it's amazing. With like the what do you call it, woofing or couch surfing or that sort of stuff now. It's it just kind of paves the way, it was traveling back then and even before then, the older guys who have been surfing and blazing trails to Bali, and the first guys that went would, it was a lot harder than what it is now, the world's gotten smaller in a way.
Yeah. Are you excited? Like, are you looking forward to having more people from all over the world coming here, or actually that doesn't affect anything on your life and on what you do? Like,
I don't know. I mean, most of the people we do work for, I guess, are from New Zealand, or people from overseas living here. So, but it's a nice vibe. I think that it's good for the town, the cafes and restaurants and bar. I know they're struggling without that tourist kind of influx, and I enjoy it. I think it's quite, it gives the place another vibe, in the summertime, and it's exciting, especially after a winter of just hibernating.
Rain. Are you looking forward to some different faces, Chloe?
Yeah, I am.
Yeah.
I always find growing up, I've always known whiringa to be sort of seasonal in the sense that there are always like tourists coming in and out and through, so it's weird to think that it's not like, so it's just something to get used to. I mean, it's 2 years now, so it's all right, but it'd be cool to see some more, just brings it a bit more, makes things interesting.
Yeah. Although it was really nice, and the lockdown, I remember we went to Hotwater Beach and had a hot pool, and it was kind of like back in the old days.
Back in the day,
like 15 people there or something, and you knew most of them, and you could have a beer in the hot pool, and
private.
So, a little bit. Yeah,
you got the place for you.
Yeah.
It's the thing, like it's finding the balance for those things. Like in life. Hey, you need those people. You need the money coming for them, so they can pay for their service and everything. But like, there's a reason why people live in remote, quiet places, right? Yeah. Like you actually appreciate the tranquility. Yeah. And being like, oh, cool. This is cool. There's nature around here. Would you live in a city after all this?
Not if I could help it. I have done before, like living in Sydney and a few other places. But I'm sort of. Traveling is cool in that you realise how good you've got it back home, which I never realised. When I was a kid, all I wanted to do was leave, and the place was tiny, and it was like, oh, I want to do something else. But you do really appreciate it when you get a bit old, and you sort of think, oh yeah, we're in a special place, But there's other places around the world that are really special too. But it's it was always nice coming home, and like I say, mainly my impetus was for the kids to kind of have a similar lifestyle to what I had when I was growing up, and that sort of experience is really neat. But I mean, I'm looking forward to being able to have friends come over and show them. Yeah, man. The place
in your
too,
Bali, in your little Bali,
Bali.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
So we got to
wash down the river.
So we got to polish that idea with the bowling alley to make a very entertaining place. In Whitianga, like a 10-year plan.
Yeah.
For new things to come up in this town. What could we bring, Jude, to the Coromando, man, that we don't have it here that would be nice?
Crikey, that's a good question. I reckon we've got so many natural resources here. I mean, What? I don't know, man. I
More
don't know.
parks
Yeah.
and stuff, eh? More like
parks,
that,
yeah.
that could be a thing because you guys can do amazing stuff with space, and there's a lot of space.
Yeah. Actually, one thing that I think we're not lacking, but one thing I think in Australia they do really well is use their coastlines. Like everyone seems to have a big affinity with the beach, but there's always boardwalks. You know, there's skate parks that are right by the beach. There's outdoor showers. You know, we're starting to get that now a little bit, but they just it seems to be a real hub. You know, and they create. Well, the other thing I loved over there is the all the old RSAs, like the clubs for the Return Servicemen's Association. They're in the prime position overlooking a beach, and you can buy a beer for like a few dollars or something, and the meals are like cheap, but they're amazing, and it's just such a cool, you know, and it's a thing that everyone can enjoy, you know.
Yeah.
I think sometimes, you know, we have our coastline, and you know, if you're rich enough, you can afford a section on there, but to kind of, you know, I think they do that really. They landscape it in a way that everyone gets to use it, and it becomes a real cool, you know, hub basically. Or there's people that jog in. I mean, it's starting to happen. Like along Buffalo Beach, we've got the track and we've got things like that. But yeah, that was one thing I really noticed when I came back. I was like, why don't we do that? You know?
Yeah. Use that space, make it more
Yeah.
attractive. The pictures
totally.
will look better. People will spend more time there. You're gonna bring more people. You're gonna attract more.
Yeah.
It's like the skate park here, right? What a score!
Oh man, I mean, we were trying to get something like that when I was a kid. You know, it was like we had a few token ramps and parents, and so it's taken such a long time, but amazing that it is done. And you know, kudos to the guys that were driving that and got that off the ground. It's really a valuable asset. There's sometimes a lot of opposition to that sort of stuff, and you say, it's going to be a hub for, you know, people to smoke or drink or you know, bad behaviour or whatever, but. You know, I think that's definitely not the case. You got to just put it out there and you know, have a bit of faith in a younger generation and police, and you know, put it somewhere that's open, and you know, kids can. I mean, there's a place I lived in Maroubra Beach in Sydney for a while, and there was a skate bowl, but it was kind of mounded up out of the ground with planting all around it, and then once you walk to the top, it was this full concrete bowl inside there, and had these little seats around it, and it just looked like it was such a cool feature. And you know, you'd see guys pop up out of the top and do these moves, and there'd be grandparents sitting there on the beach, on the seats, like looking at their grandkids, and it was just, you know, you could check the surf from there as well. It was just right there. So
Smart.
yeah, it was really smart landscape, you know, really smart design, and you know, surf and street and skate culture are sort of quite, you know, closely linked, and but it was that thing too, when it was, because it was in the open, and they had lights and things like that. You know, it was just a place for kids to go and have fun, and you know, there might have been a broken bottle now and then, but generally everyone was, you know, it was good. And Maroubra was pretty brutal sort of a place. There's a lot of crazy shit went on there, but yeah, I think that thing about design, you know.
Is there usually partnerships and good ideas coming from like council and also private companies? What would make the process faster and efficient in a place like in the smaller places?
Yeah, good question. I think it's probably a little bit of like councils, A, being open to it, B, community support is a big one, you know, like how it looks, and C is design and having the right guys that can implement the stuff and build them. And there are some amazing, you know, say skate park builders are out there, and the cool thing is we're not the first one to do it now, so you can look at examples around the world now and just go, why don't we do that? Or,
and get in touch. What worked, what didn't, make it smart.
Yeah,
right?
That's the other. Like, I think in New Zealand we could learn so much from, you know, other countries and just kind of leapfrog ahead. We're kind of at the bottom of the Pacific here, but you know, we've got so much accent. We're so lucky in a way that we've, you know, there's stuff that people are doing out there that we could really borrow and go for. But I think it's that open-mindedness, and
we're connected, right? Like there are so many ways to get the interactions, you know. So like it's good when more people talk about it, like you do, you know, like the idea It's like your friend talking about the bowling alley. It's not that you stole the idea. It's just that it popped in different minds.
Yeah.
No?
Yeah, and I got the platform, so.
Do you skate? Do you use the skate park? Is that your thing?
Not really. I'm a pretty rudimentary skateboarder. And now I'm scared about breaking an ankle or a foot.
Yeah, you don't want,
But yeah. I mean, I used to as a kid. I was never great, but the kids are getting into it. It's funny. Lee has just bought one of these. I don't know if you've seen a surf skate. They're called, and they're like a skateboard, but it helps you with your surfing. They got the front truck bends like that, so you weave along the concrete, thing, and it feels like you're surfing a wave. Kind of thing.
Cool. Have you tried that one, Papa? Have you tried that one before? Papa's the skater, man, of the crew, man.
Yeah, he looks like one.
we got one, but he's got the same thing now with his knee. He's worried about the knee.
All the old skateboarders have got some sort of brutal injury.
Trauma, injury.
Some trauma. Actually, my brother's really good at it, but yeah.
And I was thinking about the connection with yoga and surfing. If one supports the other, or you just enjoy both.
Yeah, I think they definitely support it. I mean, yeah, definitely. I mean, yoga's good for anyone. I think doing anything, just about. It's actually, yeah. And when I was living in Sydney, I got into it. I was working a job where I had to use a sledgehammer, like banging pegs. Making pathways, and it was using one side of my body for ages, and I was feeling like I was walking like this the whole time. So there's a lady who had a yoga class down at the Life Saving Club on the beach there, and started sort of going to lessons there, and it was just mind blowing. It just felt really good afterwards. So I sort of been practicing on and off for since then. I don't know, 20 years or so, but yeah, definitely help. To me, I think of it like preventative maintenance. Like if you fall off something, or if you get twisted up in a wipeout or something like that, and your body's been there before, then there's less chance you're going to get injured. Is the way I kind of see it. But and it definitely, it makes me feel better, and it's just nice taking it's at the moment it's sort of nice. I take that hour or hour and a half, for myself, and that's just it's time to just sort of connect and stretch and.
And both of you are into it, right? Lee is also practice, so that's
so that's quite cool. We kind of alternate nights, and one does cooking or whatever. Well, she mostly does the cooking, but she sets it up before she goes. But it's really cool. Yeah,
Papa, man. Oh man, I started not that long ago. We're gonna have Steph coming.
Oh, of course.
The show. Yeah.
Oh, she's brilliant.
Yes. Yeah. And it for me that was the thing. Like after probably like 4 years of consistent practice, let's say, I got to go like to 3 classes, and I was practicing a little bit every day. Wow. It's just a different thing, as you said, like it's preventive, and you just feel like everything flows better.
Yeah.
The thinking process, the breathing, and you're like, if I can do a little bit, it doesn't matter if it's every day, but if I can do it, if I can maintain this. Good habits in life, there's so many bad ones around, like it's so easy to get caught up in the, hey Chloe, what are you looking at me like that? What?
Nothing.
But the good ones,
Yeah, totally. And like I've been really inspired by some teachers that I've seen, and I'm not actually sure how old some of the teachers, but they were super flexible and super agile. I have a kind of a theory that the more kind of inflexible you get in your body, the more inflexible you may get in the mind or in your thinking, So I don't know if that's true, but
it's a cool way to think about it.
Yeah. No. I think they're probably definitely connected, and I just like and for me it's really inspirational seeing the older crew in the surf, and guys surfing well in their 60s and 70s and still getting a buzz out of it, and it seems to keep them young, and I think yoga's a little bit similar, it's you got that buzz, and they've still got that light in their eyes, and it's really neat.
And you mentioned the way that you see the life and the mind and the body connected. There was a funny episode like last week. This guy was saying something not great about Matariki. He was kind of like, oh, you know, like we're gonna celebrate this, and I could pick up that there was a little bit of ignorance there, you know, and probably a will to not learn something new, you know, or change. But like not long after, because not that we know each other, but you know, it's the classic Fitianga. So hey, how's it going? And then you say a word or two, and he complains about his lower back or something, you know, like about like how something hurts and it's been bothering the person for years. Like, and like, who am I to say? But like, you know, when it instantly connects, someone bad vibe saying something completely out of like ignorance and not wanting to change their minds, and then after they complain about some pain, you know, like even if it's not related, you know, like in my mind was so clear. I was like, wow, how cool would it be like if we didn't have to put up with this? Old dog doesn't learn new tricks. Fuck that, stop being a fuckwit and change your mind, you know, like, and open your mind, listen to people around you. There's a community, you know, like not saying specific about it, but you know, just about how we should work on our bodies to make the mind more open to it.
Yeah, it's an interesting connection. You know, Steph, you know, obviously knows a lot more than me about it, but I think something that I remember someone saying was hamstring, tight hamstrings. You can't. You're having trouble letting go of the past. You know,
wow,
something like that. I was like, damn, that's me.
Well, you got me on my hamstring, motherfucker.
But it's funny what it brings up. You know, it's I don't know, there's probably more things like that, you know. But yeah, definitely it feels good, you know. And I think it helps keep you young and yeah, I don't know. It's a good feeling. Yeah.
Do you practice yoga, Chloe?
I've tried it on and off over the years,
Not
but
your
nothing nothing that really stuck. But I mean, I wouldn't call it yoga, but I think I do a bit of stretching every now and then because I tend to move my body quite a bit, like in ridiculous ways. But that has no follow-up story. But I mean, like, but I tend to stretch quite a bit. So I mean, that's probably as close as I get to yoga. But I don't really do any of the.
Are you still skating?
No, just to go from A to B. I don't really do anything else with it. But I might play sports and stuff, so I tend to like try and move my body a bit, and I like quite active throughout the day for work and stuff, so I tend to try and do a bit of stretching before bed, just, you know, loosen up a little bit.
Good on you. Yeah.
But I wouldn't call it yoga. No.
Oh, a good teacher is amazing, eh? Like I found that I really struggle to, well, I don't, you know, do anything but off my own accord. You know, I have to go to a class really to get someone to push me into it, or, you know, to feel like I'm doing it. But yeah, good teacher is key, eh? And Steph is great. I love her class. There's been a few really good yoga, and it's just a good vibe down there. It's pretty relaxed. There's no egos or anything like that.
Yes.
It's
Broga, yoga for men.
Oh, I think I've seen that.
Yeah.
And is it? Can you do? There's like so many different types of yoga too. I was thinking, don't they do like yoga under like intense heat and stuff as well, like, and then like with rope and stuff. I don't know if it's all the same. I don't know if it's all the same or not, like different categories. Or,
no, there's a few different practices, I think. Yeah, I mean, getting upside down too is really good, you know. You get more rush of blood to your head.
Yes.
helping you do that, so yeah.
You can trip in different ways, man, you know, definitely. Exercising at the same time. It's great. With the breathing, right? That I think that's why I got into it, because after doing different exercises, you feel something different, and you're like, wow, okay, so I can go there, I can actually access that through something that it's free for now. Breathing, that's right, breathing is free, man. You should be careful, you know, before someone puts a tag and a price on it. But like you can get so much out of it, like proper.
And just that, just slowing down and just noticing what your breathing's like, and breathing through pain, you know, or uncomfortable situations, you know. Steph's got a good one. She said, you know, if you're breathing shallow, if you stop breathing when you're in an uncomfortable pose or something, you know, you're probably doing that in life in an uncomfortable situation. But the best thing you can do is to sort of breathe through that and stop that fight or flight response, and just, you know, create some space for yourself and some mental space. And and
it works. Boom! Here we go, going deep with Jude. Jude, we got a question here from Dane. Thanks, Dane. Whoop, whoop. We should have more veg gardens and less grass around the properties. What's your opinion about it? Well, we kind of covered this before about like time, but like yeah, what is your opinion? Or even more, like we can add something to what you mentioned before, like is that a way to support people to at least have some sort of like that it doesn't consume too much time? Like what are the tips for people? Yeah, I mean, time management.
Yeah, I mean that's a really good thing, and it comes down to a few things, you know, like a lot of it can be expense or time or a place to garden. Like that's the other thing. I don't know if we have it around here yet, but you know, it's a thing around the world, like communal gardens or community gardens, which is like a shared space that you can create that people can come and, maybe actually out at Coral Glen, I think they do have. But that's a cool way to be able to, you know, if you live in an apartment or a place that you're renting or whatever, and you can't create you know, to be able to go to a community garden and have your own, be able to grow your own veggies there is another, you know, cool idea that, you know, we could possibly do. I mean, we've got enough land in different places, but being able to grow your own food is just essential. You know, it's so good, and it's so good for kids to know where the food's coming from, and to be able to, you know, have that experience of growing something from scratch and watching a seedling and looking after it and watering and so on is really important. You know, there's lots of ways you can, even in a small space, like just to get a pot, and get some potting mix and put some, you know, salad or herbs or things in there is a good cheap way of being able to grow your own salads, you know, even if it's just for a summer or whatever. And yeah, it's I mean, I really like raised veggie gardens myself. I'm a big stickler for that, and I've been trying to kind of put that into our designs as much as possible for people, you know, and to try and have it close to the kitchen and make it really easy. Like the good thing about a raised garden is if you're older and not so mobile, or even if you're younger, you know, whatever, it's just easy to access. And you can build up the soil and you can get good, you know, start to get a compost system then, and you know, one thing flows into another. We've got a worm farm at home that we put all our food scraps into, and that produces worm wheeze, you know, and it's really good for plants. And you also not putting your food scraps into the bins or anything. So, you know, when you start down that track, you know, you find ways of recycling or reusing stuff, and it's it can get really fun, you know, and then you get something to eat at the end of it. And it's really cool. So yeah, definitely. And spaces, you know, it's a tough one. This is not a tough one, but you know, we've got a lot of this mentality. You know, you're going to have your grass area, and it's amazing how much you can grow in a small space, or just to what was it in France? They call it something, not companion planting, but kind of like intensive gardening. So, you know, it might be an area the size of this table, for instance, but you can have, you know, different things like tools, you know, say corn with beans growing up the corn, and then something spilling over the side. And so for a small area like this, you could actually get a lot of produce out of it. A
lot of civilizations thrived on that, right? Years and years ago, of like this system growing together and helping each other.
And there's so much stuff online, or you know, companion planting and you know, intensive gardening, and there's heaps of resources out there for even done a library. You know, there's so many books on it, and tips for composting and
which ones do you like to grow that you got your head around it, like you can do it well?
Well, actually, I've been out of that. Look at me. I've just got 7.5 hectares, and we're not even growing anything yet.
Not yet.
Because we're sort of setting out, we're in the drainage and we're building infrastructure. But I mean, we're growing re-veg, but yeah, nothing. But I can't wait to put down a veggie plot. I've been actually thinking about that. And I used to have chooks at our last place too, and they're great little composters. I mean, they can be quite destructive in the garden if they're not contained, but it's great for the, you know, I used to, well, I kind of got the chooks for the compost, for the poos.
Yeah. Good.
I mean, the eggs is a bonus, but
yeah,
it was. And there's some great, actually, another place that we were looking at recently is a place called The Farm in Byron Bay. They've got a great website too, but they're all about, well, a lot of different things, but they've sort of created this farm that you can go take people in. There's workshops and growing things, and they have a bakery, and they have a restaurant there, and they have all these different facets, but it's a real sort of food kind of farm to table kind of experience, so kids can see, where their food's all coming from, and they have workshops and things like that about it. So that's sort of something that we'd like to, possibly replicate or try to create.
Man, that Bali retreat's gonna kick ass, man. Shit, man. That's cool. Because Byron Bay has that vibe, eh? What a beautiful place to look for those things, eh?
It's quite an alternative. I just spent a bit of time there, and I lived there for a year or so. But it is not, and just interesting ideas, and being able to see where your food has come from, and that it's grown right there or whatever. I mean, I've got friends, Jake is doing growing greens and selling them to restaurants here from Hotwater Beach and
plays the he'll be here soon. Awesome. We'll get that sorted. We talked a few months ago, and nice. I know that he's up to cool things.
Totally, and Benson does the seed saving, and there's some Noah's doing the gardens out there at Coral Glen, so there's a lot of people who are into that. But just starting down a track is always leads to new things, and it's fun. It's amazing. I was really interested in how much you can grow in a space, and then it was like, I didn't do that, and then you kind of like it always leads to the next stuff. And you're like, maybe I could do that. And the gardens are fun. The gardening is really fun. There's always something new, and it's new to learn. You never stop learning about it. Man,
I was wondering about the bark. So does that actually support like veggie when you're growing veggies, apart from the mushrooms? When you actually put around to protect, is it a good idea, or you gotta know what you mixing with? Because people always think about avoiding weeding or things that will grow that are unwanted. Is bark a good idea?
Yeah, it totally is. Like mulch bark. So we were using arborist mulch is great. So that's usually just what the arborist guys in town are, and it depends on what they're mulching up as to. But aged arborist mulch is great because it's breaking down. It's got a lot of leaf matter in it, and wood chips and sort of. Also, you just got to be careful of a few things that aren't good, or say willows will seed again from mulch. But generally, mulch in a garden is so great. Like and usually a good 150 mils of mulch is. You go back the next year and there's just so much worm life and activity in that, and it's a good way. I mean, the other thing that people you sometimes use weed mat and then river rocks and so on, but the trouble is usually you end up weeding it anyway because the soil gets on the weed mat, and then it's harder to weed and to mix the rocks and things like that. So what I tend to try to steer people towards is a good layer of mulch and planting the garden in a way that weeds eventually get suppressed or smothered out by the plants that you want there. So instead you're kind of form pruning, or you're shaping the plants that you want, and the weeds don't get a chance to get in there, rather than sort of a minimalist garden sometimes is quite high maintenance because you've got to weed all the time. I'd rather form prune or do things like that. But the mulch is key, man. It's really good. Even in veggie gardens, and just doing your own compost and introducing worms and things, and
I'm pretty consistent with my compost, but I always wonder about the mulch. I think I have to make better use of it. Yeah.
Well, it's a resource now. It's funny because a few years ago no one really wanted it, and the arborist guys were struggling to get rid of it, and now everyone's sort of not everyone, but a lot of people cottoned on to how valuable it is. But yeah, totally. And even in re-veg, trying to smother weeds for the first few years until the plants get up and get big enough to kind of make it on their own. Mulch is great.
There you go.
Yeah.
Did you know that, Chloe?
I didn't know exactly what it was used for, but you see it like when people plant things.
It always looks beautiful too once you've remulched a garden,
Yeah, it's like,
it's looking lovely.
I had no idea what it was used for.
We got a comment. Lily. Hi, Lily. Bowling and big indoor community swimming pool at Whitianga's future new event center behind the airfield.
Yeah, sounds good.
Boom.
Sounds good to me.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah. We're what do you call it? Brainstorming. We're brainstorming. But the community pool is something that needs to be up there. Like if I get the ball rolling for this bloody bowling alley before we get a heated pool and fitting out, I'll be pretty gutted. Like,
Yeah.
Okay. Can be an event. There you go. Event center.
event centre. That's
sports
what I'm
center.
thinking. Yeah. Something indoor that covers.
Mulch all over. Like
Yeah. Chops it on the
gardens.
job to dress it up for sure.
Yeah.
Cool. We got big ideas for this area, eh?
Yeah, nice. So you can put it out there.
Nice. Jude, thanks for teaching us some cool stuff, for telling some good stories.
Thanks, man. Most, yeah. Hopefully, appreciate it too. Thanks for having me on.
And if we want to get to see some of the work that you guys do, like to reach out and find out more about Chops Landscaping, because I was checking the website, I'm like, man, bro is an artist. I knew it, but look at this stuff. Like, that makes sense. And I actually put that on the description. I'm like, oh, that's Jude's art, you know, like you can see it there, like beautiful stuff. So
Yeah,
let people know what's happening.
Oh, yeah, cool. I think we've got I'm so shit at this sort of stuff, but we've got a Facebook page, and I think we've got Instagram and a website.
Website's great. Yes.
Oh, okay, cool. Great.
Yeah. You can see the pictures. Yeah. Boom, straight to the point, man. I like it. I was like, oh, cool. The pictures are good.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool.
Nice.
The team are doing well then. Yeah.
Man, fun. Chloe,
Yes.
Friday night. Straight to bed?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Good way to celebrate Matariki.
Yeah.
Did you do something this morning? Special?
No, not really. It wasn't really great weather to really do much, but I took a moment because essentially I just stood in my stairwell with my coffee and just had a moment, like, giving myself a pat on the back, a bit of a prep talk. So I consider that something special for the starting of the new Māori New Year. Just because it's long weekend, I'm like, oh man, busy all weekend. So it's just like, I just had to just give myself a quick prep. Ruthless.
Someone's got to work, Chloe. Someone's got to do it for us.
Yeah, no, nothing specific for Matariki, unfortunately, but just, I suppose, just a mental note of it, really. Yeah.
Acknowledgement of a brand new start.
Yeah.
We've been doing good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Yeah, cool.
Nice. Thank you so much, Jude.
Thanks, bro.
Thanks, Chloe.
Thank you. Thanks, mate.
Hector. Thank you, my man. Papa. We're live every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 7 p.m. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to support the show. If you want to be a sponsor, if you want to be a supporter, send us an email on info@ALTBAYS.nz. There's a bunch of cool, interesting people coming to the show. We're going to have the politicians soon. I don't know why I said that so close to each other. Great people coming to the show, politicians. Well, you know, democracy. Anyway, some crazy people coming as well, not just Chloe, some other crazy ones. And I'll see you. Happy New Year. I'll see you on Monday. Bye.
Ooh.
ALTBAYS.